Hello, everyone. I'm Pia Brown, NACAC Director of Events and Meetings. Thank you for taking the time from your busy schedules today, especially on a Friday, to participate in this webinar. Our goal today is to provide you with a tutorial of our new platform and take a deeper dive into tools for the virtual booth setup like one-to-one messaging, video chat, and live and on-demand presentations designed to maximize your success and increase ROI as you connect with students who would thrive on your campus. NACAC has spent the last several months working very closely with GoToCollegeFairs to bring a new and exciting experience to both our virtual and in-person programs. This important work affirms NACAC's commitment to upgrading technology used to serve you, counselors, and students and families while ensuring that we remain in compliance with required data privacy regulations. As a footnote, we're very excited about the performance of our first two Spring 22 fairs and are striving for even more success with every program. Today's program will run for 1 hour and include time for Q&A at the end of the session. Please feel free to also type questions into the Q&A as we go, as many of your questions will be relevant to the full group. We're joined by Holly Lazaro, and Managing Director, and Greg Lazaro, Vice President of Development with GoToCollegeFairs, our exclusive technology services provider for student virtual and in-person lead retrieval, who will be conducting today's webinar. Starting with Holly, who will review the Q&A function and other housekeeping items. Holly?
Pia? I'm going to do a few housekeeping items with you. First, while in webinar, someone chatted in already, while in webinar mode, all participants are on mute. However, at the bottom of the window or screen you opened to start this Zoom, you will see a toolbar. Depending on the type of device you're using, you might need to mouse over the bottom of the screen or window in order to see that toolbar. And on the toolbar, you'll see an icon labeled Q&A. We advise that you would click on that now to open the window so that you're all set to ask questions as they come up for you during the webinar. If you have difficulty with this feature, you can certainly compose a list of questions and send those over to us at the end of the webinar via email, but it's very useful for you to be able to ask those questions now while we're here to answer them and while others may also be thinking of them. Just so you know, this webinar is also being recorded so you can view it later or share it with your colleagues. What you'll find today is this webinar is a how-to. What we're doing is we're giving you somewhat of a tutorial and an opportunity to ask us questions about how to on the virtual platform. But we'll also have some why that we'll be teasing in throughout the content of today's webinar. And we want you to understand specifically about student engagement and college matchmaking, so much so that we're doing a second webinar next week that we encourage you to register for, because it's really going to help you get a fully orbed understanding of the virtual platform and how you can get the most out of it. I'm actually going to place the registration link for that right now in the chat, so that if you care to, you can register for that today. And we will also send that registration link out with our follow-up email after the webinar today. So you'll definitely get that in a few different instances, but we want you to know that it's coming, because we're going to talk a little bit about student engagement and matchmaking today, but we're going to do more with that next week. And we really think that you'll benefit from coming to that webinar. Now I'll hand it to Greg for the how-to and tutorial that I know you're going to get a lot from.
Thanks, Holly. And thanks everyone for being here today. We're excited to go over the platform with you and talk to you about the exciting new ways that we are working with NACAC to make virtual even better. Let's just start with what we'll cover. So a quick going over the agenda. We're going to go over the student experience and talk about all the ways that they have to engage you and to find you, and how that should shape what how you're preparing for the event. We'll go over the expectations regarding leads, expectations on the day of the event, what you should be prepared for, what you should be expecting. We will cover pre-event setup of the virtual booth and the configuration that needs to be done there. We will go over the event day expectations and how to operate your booth, interacting with students on the day. We will finish up with leads and understanding a little bit about how to access those and the different ways that the leads come in. And then we'll wrap it up with Q&A. So with that, I am going to jump right into the student experience. So for those of you who have not seen this is the virtual venue as the student sees it. This can be viewed in desktop or mobile mode. And this is where the student lands. This is the virtual lobby. And one of the things that you'll notice is that we attempted with this platform to mirror as much as we can the in-person environment. So somebody walks into a big gymnasium or a convention center and they don't know where to go, so they need signs. So these are our signs, where to go, what to do. So in the virtual lobby, we give them a little taste of everything, presentations, and this is one of the ways that they can interact with you. We carousel through the colleges that are participating. We show them the educational sessions that are being held by NACAC, being put on by NACAC. And from there, they can go into the college fair and interact with you. And they can interact with you by clicking on your presentation. So we'll start with the work backwards just a little bit, and we're going to start with the presentations. So when the students click on the presentations, they can certainly search by any keyword. They can search for your school. But one of the other things that they can do is what's happening right now. And this is the April 3rd fair, so you'll see there is nothing happening, but they can look at on demand, what's been pre-recorded for them, and they can look at upcoming. Obviously, the upcoming is going to have its most value during the event where everything is slotted. So if they're in the middle of a 10 o'clock hour and there's presentations going on, that live now is going to be helpful, and the upcoming is going to be helpful to let them know what's next. So that's one of the ways that they can connect with you. The other major way to connect with you is to find you in the college fair. So this is essentially the big open gymnasium, the exhibit floor, whatever you might want to call it for your reference. And this is where the students are going to look for you. And there's multiple ways they can do that. If they know that they want to go to your school, they can search for you here. There is a matchmaking roadmap, which we'll talk more about as we get to that, another way for them to find you. They can search by state. Of course, if they want to look at anyone who is in the state of Alabama, for instance, they can you can sort by or search by country. We have geographic regions, which you have selected in your booth setup, campus size, campus settings, and all the different ways that students can find you. So this is very important as we talk about the expectations and how it should shape what how you prepare for the event. It's important that when we cover the how-to portion of setting up your booth, that these things are done properly so that the students can find you and they don't have any difficulty. Once a student does find you, and I will look for schools in Nevada. Let's see what we find. Okay, oh, there's one. All right, so once they do find you, they go into your booth. This is your table. You wouldn't have a table that is set up without your table skirt, without your being prepared and the printed materials. So that's really what this is. This is where they get to see all the different ways they can interact with you. They can look at videos. They can meet with you later if you input a calendar link. They can go to your website. There's a contact us. You can put an apply now link in. And we have two other ways for them to connect with you, which is group video chat, which can either be done inside of our platform, or you as the college or university can set up your whatever platform you're most comfortable with. And then we have the one-to-one messaging, which is a chat. So students can chat with you one-on-one, and that can turn into a one-to-one video chat as well. And then they can see everything about your university that you filled out. And some of the really good things just like they would on a table if they walked up, is things that you would have printed out and on a table are things that you would want to add as downloadables. They can take it away with them, sort of a virtual tote bag, if you will, so that they can come back and look at some of the things that you've provided for them. So that's a quick overview, and I'm not covering at this point the sessions. This is more about understanding how a student engages with you and how important it is that we complete all of the things necessary to make that engagement most beneficial for you and for them as well. So going to switch back to the expectations. So we've got some real data here to show you, and we're pretty excited about that. So we've had a couple of fairs already that we've done here for the season. And one thing you can expect is increased activity. So there's multiple ways that the students can find you: through the search filters, through the presentations, in the virtual booth, and the college matchmaking roadmap, which again, you'll hear me talk about, and we'll get into some detail later. So there's lots of ways they can find you. The engagement is better because you can have the one-on-one messaging, you have the group video chat, there are live presentations, and one of the ways that you can really make the engagement better is you have the opportunity to greet the student before the student greets you. So just like you would if they walked up to a table, you would give them a warm welcome, and we want you to do the same thing when they're visiting your booth virtually. And that's a really great way to start the conversation. And of course, more leads. So with the matchmaking plus the engagement, the students get a clearer and quicker path to you. They have the ability, again, to do the group video chats and the live presentations. And again, saying hello. When you are reaching out to a student, they are far more likely to engage with you than if you didn't say hi as they were walking by, for instance. Okay, so let's talk about the success that we've had. So this is the institution sizes that we have among the members. And for the first couple of events, this is what we were able to garner from what we've seen. So the universities, colleges that are less than 3,000 students averaged 10 conversations, 40 leads in the booth or through presentation, and 628 matchmaking leads. We'll talk about that number and what that means. As we move up to the 3,000 to 9,000, the average engagement was 28 conversations, 65 leads, and 941 matchmaking leads. At 9 to 15, the numbers were actually very similar. They were actually slightly lower at 25 conversations, 60 on the lead count, and 797. And at more than 15,000, we are at 31 conversations, an average of 76 leads, and 732 matchmaking leads. What does this data tell us? What it tells us is everybody can do well at a NACAC virtual college fair. With matchmaking and driving students to the right schools, everybody gets a good shot at seeing the students who are going to match best with them. So it's very successful data, and we're pretty excited about that. Okay, so let's move back into setting up the virtual booth, because in order for this success to happen, we have to make sure that we've got the booth set up properly and that we are ready for event day. Okay, so when you log into your dashboard, and most of you will already have been in the dashboard or been into FairStop, so we'll start with once you're in. You would all have received emails prior inviting you to, if you have not registered yet for the NACAC fairs, once you do, you'll get those invites. So once you're in your dashboard, your fairs will be listed for you. And to set up your booth for the fair, you go under My Booths. And I'm going to take us into the very booth for the fair that we were viewing. And these are the important things. These are the things that matter. So before we get to filling each of these out, the first thing that you want to make sure that you do, and this goes for all of your booths, is populate your media library. And what's your media library? Your media library is all the content that you would have. Think of it as your boxes of materials that you would be shipping from one event to another. So this is your content that you will be able to use for one of your booths, all of your booths. You may use different content in different booths depending at different events, depending on what you're focusing on. So the media library consists of files, links, presentations, and videos. And under the files, these are the files that you would both choose for the downloadables and files that you would use for your booth logos. So you can simply select a file here. And once you select a file, you can upload that file and that will be available to you in your media library. And the same goes for each one of these. So links, you create a link and that link is you'll give it a name and a URL. So that's a quick link where students will be able to click on something where maybe you take them to a virtual tour or an overview of the campus, those kinds of things. I'll go with videos and then we'll finish up with presentations. These are the videos that appear in the booth. So things that we saw here, for instance. Those videos get added here and you create a video by clicking create, give it a name, the URL, and the video source, whether it's YouTube or Vimeo, which are the current supported platforms. And the final piece of that is presentations. Final, but very important, because this is one of the ways that the students can also reach you. They may not get to your booth, but they may see your presentation. So creating a presentation, you give it a name, you choose the event. So this is the NACAC virtual event on, where is it? I just had it, there it is. And I give it a link. I give it, if I'm doing a live link, I put that here. If it's a recorded link, I put that here. I'm going to give it a date. And one of the things that you'll see if I mess it up is, well, it needs a name. So if I enter a presentation, oh, it took the name, so we were fine there. So if I enter the presentation, now that is ready to go for the event. And that presentation will show up for the event itself. The other piece that we want to do once we've populated that media library is go in and set up the booth. So the media library is something you do at the account level. It's something you do typically in advance, and you can always add to it. But once the media library is done, setting up your booths is a piece of cake, and it actually gets even quicker than setting up each booth at a time. So if I go into the virtual fair booth here, now I want to make sure that I've completed all of this information. So here's my roadmap, my guidelines on how to do it. I need to complete booth information, contact, media, communications, and search filters. So we'll cover those now. The booth information comes over from NACAC and the institution name as well, so nothing to worry about there. Your booth logo. Your booth logo is what's going to display in the booth, so in here. And your directory logo is what's going to display here. So if I remove the filters, I see the logo as it will appear in the booth. Many times you can make that the exact same file. It doesn't have to be different, but it can be if you want the directory logo to be different. Typically, if you are doing a directory logo, square is better, but it doesn't have to be square. It can be longer rectangle, and that looks just fine too. So whatever you want to be displayed in the directory when people walk in, look at this kind of like your signage above your booth. So once we fill out those two, and again, we can just select those from what's already in the media library, we can add our about section. And that's really important that we put that in there so that students understand a little bit about who we are. Then we want to fill out the contact information. The contact, having a place to contact us, a website, your address, all this information is very important. Now your address will come over from your registration, but you definitely want to check that and make sure that it's accurate. And if it's not, you want to get that updated there so that students are able to find you, for instance, by state or by country. Your apply now and your calendar link, what is that? So the apply now is pretty straightforward. If you have a place online where they can apply, you can put that link there. If you don't have a place where they can apply online, but there's information about applying online, put that link there. We're just trying to drive students to you and to information that's going to be valuable to them. Then the calendar link. The calendar link is a nice feature because it can be used far beyond the fair. So you put in a calendar link, it could be to your admissions department. If you are a rep and you want to put in your own calendar link so that students can follow up and schedule a meeting with you. So it's versatile. It's just a link inside the platform. What's really important is we'll just pull up this booth here. If we don't have that link, then it won't show here. So the links that are available to the student are only available if they're populated here. So if they're not populated, they will not show up. So that's very important that we fill those out. Then media. So the media is everything that's in our library. Videos, right, seen here, and the links, and the documents, which are the downloadables for the students. Adding these is very easy. If I want to add, we'll just remove one here. If I want to add a video, I'll just click here, choose from my list, and then I will save. If I want to change the order, so they appear in the order that you see here, if I want to change the order, and that goes for any of the media, you just drag and drop, and that will move up the video to whichever slot you want to put it in. So I want that there. Same is true for links. So we add links in the very same way, and we can add up to 5 videos and up to 10 links and up to 10 documents. So we encourage you to take advantage of all of those if you have enough content. The more content you have, the more engaged likely a student is to engage. Adding a link, same way, you should just select it from what you've already done, and documents the very same way. So you can add a document in again if you want to change the location of those documents. So that's pretty straightforward. And you can see once you've done that, once you've populated the media library, adding the media to your booth, which gives you your view here, is really very easy to do. And of course, as you're doing all of this, as you're adding this, at any time, you can preview your booth. So this is how the students will see what you've added there. So you can see I added a video that was a bad link. That's important. We need to see that and know. I want to look at, do my downloadables, are they labeled properly? Is this how I want them to appear? So this gives you the ability to see your booth as a student would see it, and you want to make sure that it looks as good as you want it to look for them, just like you would a physical space. Going back to this, we have the communications, another very important part of the setup. We have one-to-one messaging and group video chat. By default, for every event, group video chat is disabled, so you will want to enable that if you intend on taking advantage of it. We'll talk about that in just a second. The one-to-one messaging, pretty straightforward. One-to-one messaging is, do you want this chat button to appear? Let me go back to booth preview. Do you want the students to be able to message with you one-to-one? Do you want them to be able to group video chat with you? If these are enabled, you will be able to, that will be available to them. If not, it will not. For the group video chat, you can either use what's built into our platform. So we partner with Jitsi on integrating video, and that is part of the platform itself. And if you decide, well, I'm really more comfortable with Zoom or Teams or Google Meet, then you can just put the link of the group video chat. One of the interesting things that you can do here, because we've noticed that many of the colleges and universities are putting in one long presentation for the day. So if it's a 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern event, we've seen colleges and universities just taking advantage of one long session that is, chat with an admissions representative. That's great. Excuse me. You can do that, but it's also a good idea to put that link here because it's just another way that they can reach you. So of course they can find you in the presentations, but if they click on group video chat, that will open the very same presentation that you have over in the college presentation if you're hosting a live one. We'd only recommend doing that if you are using an all-day type presentation. Otherwise, you may not be there. But if you're doing that, it's just another way for the students to be able to find you there. The last thing, and really important on the booth setup, is the filters. This is how students are going to find you in the college fair. As many people know, walking into a college fair in the physical space for a student can be pretty daunting. It's just a sea of tables and booths. Well, the same is true here. So we want to give students ways to find you and find you easily. And that's why we have all the filter options. So it's important that we go in and that we select everything properly: the campus size and settings, geographic region, where your campus is located or where you serve, the majors offered, the institution types, and yep, that is it for the NACAC events. Now, this is going to look very similar to your matchmaking emails that you get. And again, we're going to talk about the matchmaking separately, but this is different than matchmaking. This filling out your matchmaking email does not populate FairStop. FairStop is looking at search filters, which you set up when you do each individual event. And the matchmaking is, while they're the same questions and answers, this is happening pre-event, before you ever get into the virtual, into FairStop Manager, the pre-event matching with students who register and you who fill that out. So both need to be completed. You'll likely complete them the same way, but it's important to understand that there's a distinction, and completing one does not complete the other. And that's really the most important thing to note. And that is the full setting up your booth. The only other thing that I wanted to show you is once a, sorry, Siri is on my watch, has decided she's chiming in. So once you've set up a booth, if it's a booth that you like and everything is set, you don't have to set that up for each and every event. So for instance, if I want to clone a booth and I say, oh, I'm having this fair here on February 15th, I haven't set that booth up yet, we have a clone option. And you click on the clone option and you select which event you want to clone from. So I like what I've done with the April 3rd fair. So I clone that booth. All right, it's telling us changes made cannot be reversed. So it's cloning the booth. And now all the information from my April 3rd fair is in my February 15th fair. Now, not being able to reverse it doesn't mean that you can't change it. You can still go into the booth once you've set that up, and everything that I selected here can still be edited. So if you want to use it as sort of a starting point and then tweak, it's better than having to refill out all this information. So that's a really nice, convenient way for you to be able to register for multiple events in NACAC, then have all of your booths set up one, clone the rest, and it's going to be very quick, and you can make any adjustments that you'd like to make from there. So that is the everything that we're talking about from the booth setup. Now I want to go into on the day and operating the booth. So operating the booth, really important. You do that under the Operate Booths menu, and also really important that when you are operating the booth, that you are present. And if you are present and you are engaged with students, you are going to have conversations. The earlier graph that I showed you, the success, we included only the schools who were fully engaged in that success. And those numbers dropped by about 20% when they weren't fully engaged. What does that mean? If chats weren't enabled, if presentations weren't created, the activity dropped by about 20%. So that's a fairly significant number. So when a student goes into your booth, so let me just go into the GoToCollegeFairs booth. When the student enters your booth, you will see that that student has just shown up in your booth. And you'll also hear, this is new, something new that we've recently released, an audible notification. Sounds like a door opening. So when somebody comes into your booth, you'll hear that. So if you have it minimized, you still have the option to know that somebody entered your booth. So that's really important. You can turn that off. That's something that can be turned off. If you don't want audible notifications, you can change that here. But we recommend the audible notifications, especially if you're not glued to your computer, so that you know if somebody is either trying to chat with you or entered the booth. What we want to do here is not wait, because it may not be long that they leave. So while they enter the booth, you want to go ahead and connect with them. You can see who they are, a little bit about them, and you want to start a conversation and say hello. Okay, that's an engagement that now you're more likely to get them to respond than if you waited for them to chat with you. So that's really important. As long as they're active, they will remain here. Anyone who requests a chat for you before you request it with them will show up here. So you'll see a new chat request. And the one thing that I can't show you here because I don't have a use case representative here, but if you have multiple admissions reps that are operating the booth, you will see that some of the students are connected to the other admissions reps, meaning they'll be grayed out here. And when you highlight over them, you'll see, oh, it's connected to Holly. This person's already having a conversation. I don't need to be concerned with them. They're already engaged. So it allows you to see other things that are happening. You can't see their conversation, but you can see that they're in conversation. So anyone who does a new chat request is going to show up here for any of the admissions reps to grab, active booth visitors for any admissions reps to grab. And you can see that I see some statistics, across the top. Since I started a chat conversation, that's been updated. I have 4 booth visitors. These are, no one has viewed my presentations yet. Maybe I don't have them, but I should, because we want activity there. And students who are downloading things from the booth. So that's an important piece to understand. Engage with the student before they engage with you, because they may not. They may disappear, and you want to get to them. So your ongoing conversations will be here. You can carry on multiple conversations at a time. You can turn any conversation into a one-to-one video chat. You can download the conversation, the chat transcript. You can also send files, and the students can send files to you. So if there's any information that you want to send, you send it over our secure file transfer system that's built inside the platform. Only you and the student have access to that. And the feature that we hope no one ever needs to use is blocking a user. And that is if there is inappropriateness, or we find someone who really shouldn't be there and they're saying things that you really don't want to hear, you can go ahead and block them. And they have the same opportunity with you. Hopefully that's never needed, but you can block a user at any time and unblock a user. So that is how you interact with students during the event. The group video chat is, and I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and it's going to fail to open up my camera. But you'll see that the group video chat, because I'm using the internal group video chat, which is built into the platform, immediately pops up, and I can be in conversation. So any student who is who's clicks on the group video chat over here is going to land here. So if you've used our link, it will open up, or our platform, it will open up the internal. If you use your Zoom, it will open that up. So this is what we recommend for best practice here. Really pretty important is that if you are going to have group video chat, you need to be there. Otherwise, students go and it's like walking into an empty room. We recommend that you have a separate admissions rep if you're going to enable group video chat, because you will be busy in the booth and you will be interacting with students, and students who aren't comfortable going into a group video chat and are more comfortable one-on-one or just with a text messaging chat, you don't want to miss them. So we recommend that that because you'll be much more engaged at a NACAC event, and because there will be a lot more activity, we want to make sure that the students who are trying to get you here are not forgotten, or they are not seen right away because you're in the middle of a group chat. So we do recommend that you would have a separate rep do that. If you can juggle all of those things, that's great. It's just that what we've found as a best practice is you are able to do a lot better with the engagement if you have someone dedicated to group video chat or the live presentations versus the operating the booth. So that is the tutorial on operating the booth. That's where you want to be during the event. And as you go into operate booth, it will tell you when you should be there. And when you should be there is when students are going to be chatting with you. So the venue is open a week before the event and it's open a week after the event. And that means students can come into the booths, but they are only expected to be able to chat with you during the times that NACAC has set up, which is the live fair dates and times. So these are the times that you want to be available and present in your booth. This is when the video chat button, group video chat, and the one-to-one messages button will appear for the students. So you want to make sure that you're available for that. The last thing that we are going to talk about is lead access. And lead access is pretty straightforward. You access the leads by clicking on your Go to College Fairs lead portal button. You can also go there directly. You will have set up the lead email in advance through NACAC. So that's one of the things that you register with. So you may or may not be the lead person for that. What's important to note is we will be adding a function actually probably within the week that lists who your lead contact is here. So if I think it's me and it's actually Holly, I'll note that it's Holly here and I won't bother trying to access the leads because the lead portal wasn't set up. For me, it was set up for her. So since that information is in NACAC, when you register, we're going to be adding that here over the next coming days. Probably within the next week, you will see the lead contact pop up here. Once you go into the lead portal, you need to make sure that your leads were, the lead portal was properly set up and you want to log in with the username and password. And Holly is going to drop into the chat the knowledge base article on accessing your leads and setting that up. There's a little bit to that, and you want to make sure that you take the opportunity to read that knowledge base article if you have not. So we're not going to go fully into going into the leads dashboard today, but there's a really good help desk article on how to do that. Okay, so we've covered everything on the agenda, but we do want to go back and look at, let's take a look here. We do want to go back and look at the leads after the event, during the event, and even prior to the event. So, and this will take us a little bit more into the college matchmaking. So it's all about leads and quantity and quality here. So qualified leads. The college matchmaking is going to allow you to be able to get leads, potential leads for students before you even enter, before they enter the venue and before before the live event days. So that's really important. And the leads generated through the booth visits are another way that you're going to get them, and the leads that are happening after the event is over. And that's really important. So after the event is over, leads continue to be generated. So let's just take a quick look at these numbers. So this is an average over the first two fairs that we've had, an average of before the fair. We've averaged 774 matchmaking leads per college before the fair. During the fair, 50 leads and 10 leads after the fair. So that's another 10 students that you have to potentially interact with after the fair is over because they visited your booth and they generated the lead. So you want to be going back to your lead portal and downloading your leads. NACAC will be sending you lead reminders to download your leads. If there are new leads there that have not yet been downloaded, you'll get email reminders from NACAC to get those. But it's important to know that that leads are happening from the moment you register. You're getting the opportunity to connect with students. And now I'm going to turn it over to Holly to talk a little bit about matchmaking. You saw some pretty large numbers there, so Holly's going to explain how that works. Holly?
Thanks. So we've talked a lot about college matchmaking, and I want to just clarify that with a quick overview and then remind you again, I'll put this link in again for you to register for the webinar next week, which is going to give you a lot more information about what I give you an overview on right now. So let me put that link in there again. in addition to look in the chat for the link to how to access and understand your leads, which Greg referenced a moment ago. So matchmaking is very simple. Greg, you can go ahead and put the rest of the content there. So first, as Greg described, colleges list the attributes that are true about their campus. So this is my campus size. This is my campus setting, suburban, rural, et cetera. These are the majors I offer. This is my institution type. And so you're reporting as a college what's true about your campus. When students register, so which means before they attend, and even if they don't attend, which I'll say here and now unequivocally, we want them to come to the college fair, but some of them will not make it for whatever reason. And so we capture this data at their registration point, which is why there are so many leads. It doesn't matter whether a student shows up or not, they could generate a lead for you. So when students register, they select the attributes that they are interested in. What's the campus size I think I might want? What are the campus settings that are attractive to me? What is the major I think I might be pursuing? Am I interested in a 2-year, 4-year, private, public, Hispanic serving, religious orientation, whatever? And what is the geographic region I think I want to attend school in? So students have a sense of what they want before they even start the search. And they may decide as they go through the search process that those things change a little bit, but they really have a sense of what they want. And so it's good for students to be able to see colleges that match those attributes. Now, we want to make sure that you understand this is quite different than a list buy, where, for example, a college might tell a list service, here's the demographic of students that I would like you to send me for 50 cents per name. This is a student reporting what they are interested in. So think of it more like the student selecting you than you selecting the student, because they are really saying, these are the colleges I want you to show me, college matchmaking service. I want to see the ones that are a match for me. And you as colleges and those of us in higher ed are going to recognize that these attributes, these 5 attributes, are directly correlated with fit and retention. And we did that on purpose. So of course, it's very early in the college search process, and fit and retention, those are words we use later in enrollment and retention numbers. But it's important for us to help students start to think that way, even this early in the search process. And we don't have data on it, but we believe that this is going to help with your fit and retention, because students are really going to see the attributes that you are hosting at your campus and be able to make a really informed decision. And so as we match students and colleges on these attributes, each of those groups are notified. So students are notified with an email. By the way, we define match really tightly. So again, these leads are super, super qualified. So we ask for 5 attributes, and we only match you to a student if they have at least 4, if you have at least 4 of the attributes they're looking for. So this isn't some willy-nilly, we said you were a match, but really only on 1 attribute. This is, you are tightly matched with these students. So never have a concern that these are qualified leads. These are highly qualified leads, more qualified than a list buy, highly, highly qualified leads. And so we let the students know even what those matches look like. So we send the students an email that say, I think that the title says the results are in. And inside that email, it says to them, we did the work for you. Here are colleges attending this fair that are a match to the attributes you selected. And we list, we call it best match, and we define it for them, 5 out of 5 attributes match. So that's just to give them really a short list of colleges that they definitely want to see. And then if they have time to see others, then we give them the second tier, which we call close match, and that's defined as 4 out of 5. And so we match colleges and students. And of course, then you as colleges also get those students as a lead. Again, only the 4 or 5 out of 5. So again, you know they are really, really, really qualified leads. And in your lead set, we show you how they match with you. We'll go over all that in the webinar next week. But we're matching colleges and students based on attributes desired and attributes that are true about the campus. And so that's what a little bit about what matchmaking is and why it's sort of going gangbusters in the market. You probably heard about it. You might have had some questions about it. What's the deal with all these leads? This is a crazy amount of leads. We love that. Ask your questions, but just know these are highly, highly qualified leads, and you should be pursuing them without any reservation. So more on that next week at the webinar, but I think that's what I want to say today on matchmaking. And I'll hand it back to Greg for question and answer. There are 20 questions in the queue. Actually, I think I'm the one who's supposed to moderate that. So I'll just hold on to the mic. Greg, are you ready to go into Q&A?
I think Pia was going to mention something before Q&A.
I am back, and Holly actually covered it when she spoke about the upcoming webinar that's focused on matchmaking. So we're covered.
Great.
We got a lot of questions, so let's jump right into that.
Okay. I'll moderate that. So the first question is from Cara. What if I don't have a tab that says my booths? I only have dashboard, operate booths, and help. Greg, I'd like you to answer this, please.
Sure, that's a great question. The answer to that is very simple. So when you were set up, you were likely added by another rep, admissions rep, and they added you as a booth operator and not a content contributor. So very simple to do. You can either ask one of the other users in the account, you can see who those users are, ask one of the other users in the account to up your access, or you can send a ticket in to us in the help section. So if you click on the help section inside your FairStop manager and create a ticket, you can say that you need your access increased, and we'll just ask for your name and university, and we'll verify that information and we'll increase your access. It should take about 5 minutes.
Thank you. Greg, it looks like you're typing an answer to Rick's question. Hi, Rick.
I'll cancel that. We'll just.
Yeah, let's just answer it live.
Yep.
Rick is asking, what are the size limits for downloading files and presentations?
Yeah, so the downloading is really the uploading. So uploading that information, it's a 10 megabyte restriction on each individual file.
Thank you. The next question is from Jessica. Do pre-recorded presentations need a start and end time, or will they be available on demand for the duration of the event?
So the answer to that is they will be available on demand. Anytime you create a presentation, it requires a start and end time, but that start and end time is only used if the presentation is live. So if it's a pre-recorded presentation, it's always available and on demand. You do need to enter something, but those times are only used and calculated if it's a live presentation.
Great, thank you. Kate would like to know, is there a size limit of files? I think you just answered that, so
Yep.
I'm going to say you did. We have an anonymous question. Are we able to go into the virtual lobby to see all schools' booths?
Yeah, so the answer to that is, as a college, you are not able to go in. Those are two different systems. So the virtual venue is a separate login and registration from the FairStop manager, where you have users for institutions. So the only way that you would be able to see that is if you had another registration to access that. You can see, so you can't see all the other booths. However, on the registration site itself, the NACAC registration site, we do list out all the colleges and universities who are there. So that's one place that you can go look and see who's going to be present at the fair. That's
great. I am really tempted to answer Jessica's question, but I know, Greg, that you're going to answer it as enthusiastically as I would. The question is, can you enable/disable one-to-one message and or group video chat during the event times, so you're only staffing it some of the time instead of the entire event? I'm going to let you answer that.
Yep. Can, absolutely. Should, that's a different question. So you can do that. It does take about 5 minutes for those to take effect for each student, depending on where they are technically. It's a long technical answer, but it could take up to 5 minutes for the student to see the change that you made to that booth, including whether you disabled or enabled the group video chat or one-to-one. So you absolutely can do that. The system will remove that. The only thing that you are potentially losing there is students who visited your booth. You'll get them as a lead, they will be counted as a booth visitor, but you will miss out on the chance to have a conversation with them. So the answer is absolutely, you can do it that way. It's not what we recommend as the best practice. We recommend being present. Again, you'll get real activity and lots of it at a NACAC event, but that's the technical answer is yes, you can.
I'm going to answer a question out of the chat, but please, if you can, please put your questions into the Q&A box. Someone in the chat asked about receiving an email saying that they did not set up matchmaking, but when they went to their GoToCollegeFair, it says they did complete their matchmaking. Is there a way for me to check to make sure my matchmaking is set up? So Heather, actually, I'm going to ask you to, well, do you guys want to give a general answer to this? And then I'm going to direct her to the info at just for a little bit of additional support.
Yeah, so I believe, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe we are sending out matchmaking email. We're sending out matchmaking email reminders if matchmaking has not been complete. I'm not exactly sure why you received one if it was complete. That's something that we will want to investigate individually. But so there's no way for you to go look and see other than clicking on the emails that you got and the original link. And if you click on that email and it says it's complete, it is. But otherwise, there's no list where you go to and see what's complete and what isn't.
Yeah, so a lot of us GoToCollegeFairs has that, NACAC has that. So I put our support email in the chat. If you need really specific support, that's a good way to get it. Just connect with us there, or you can open up a chat on our website. That's an immediate way to get help with us. No problem, Heather. So yeah, anybody who's in the chat and needs additional support, I would ask you to either go to open a chat on our website, connect with your NACAC rep, or email us at info@GoToCollegeFairs.com, which I placed into the chat. And please do try to limit your questions to the Q&A box because it's hard for us to monitor both places. You can see me kind of darting back and forth, so I don't want to miss anybody. Okay, so the next question is where to add the individual Zoom link. Greg did cover that. Greg, if you want to quickly show it again, but we have almost 30 questions and only 8 minutes left. So I'm almost thinking that, okay, so he's going to do it fast.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that I just want to make sure that we're talking about presentations and not actual sessions. So sessions are done at the NACAC level. They decide which session content will be available for the students. But if you're talking about your presentations, that goes here under the live link. So when you're creating a presentation and you're putting in the time in which that presentation will exist, that's where you add those links individually there.
Amanda, I think that NACAC helped you with that question, so I'm going to skip that. There's another anonymous question. Can you show us how to access matchmaking? If you mean how to access the leads, it's the same way that you access all of your leads. And I did place an article on that in the chat. So I'm going to ask you to refer to that simply because we have so many questions in the queue right now. And then the next question is it possible to schedule 1 hour live presentations twice during the fair's full time? And then some parenthetical information. The rest of the time we would be in the booth for engagement. Is that fine? So Greg, I'm going to take this one.
Sure.
It's okay to do that, but we do encourage, if you think that you're going to have that level of engagement at the fair, we encourage you to staff up and do both. So if you have presentations you want to do, have one rep that's in charge of that. If you're going to be, you need to also be in the booth, have a couple reps that are in the booth, because the NACAC fairs, as Pia said at the beginning, are getting a lot of traffic. And so staff up for it. I know that some of you experienced low level of traffic in the virtual environment before. NACAC and non-NACAC, if you weren't using our platform, you experienced low engagement maybe, but now you're going to experience a lot of engagement. So we encourage you to staff up. Anything to add on that, guys?
No.
Okay, just a nice little affirmation on the audible notification. Thank you, Christy. If I clone our booth, will I be able to change the link? So any change, you can clone a booth and then make changes, right, Greg?
Yeah, but it's important to note here that when you clone a booth, presentations are not part of that cloning process. Presentations are set up for individual events. So when you clone a booth, you need to create new presentations because there's a new time slot, likely a new link. So you will never have that. That's the one item that will not carry over. you'll want to create a new presentation for every.
Thanks. That was a good quick answer. Thank you for that. Kaden is asking, is there a notification that tells students the reps are busy? For instance, and there's a use case, but I would say this, Kaden, as I said to the previous question, staff up. And I think that Greg mentioned during his presentation, if you are in there and it's going gangbusters, what we recommend is that you might even have a couple of people on call. So they're not necessarily like in the booth, but they know that if you text them, they need to come in right away. And so you can add them in advance of the live event and just have them as a safety net if things get busy. And we encourage you to do that. So you can do all of the things that you're describing, but we really encourage you to be ready to engage live with students during the live event time. That means a lot to them. And you're going to get a lot more headway with them if you engage with them live. So staff up. Okay, next question. We have 23 questions. We're going to go over the 3 o'clock hour. I'm going as fast as I can. So when you have multiple reps operating the booth and presenting, does everyone need a separate user login, Greg?
Yes, everyone needs their own login. They'll have their own conversations, their own videos potentially going on. So everyone needs a login. The good news is we have you have unlimited users, so you can add as many admissions reps as you want. There was one university on the first NACAC fair who had 21 active admissions reps in the booth during the event. So unlimited users, add as many as you'd like.
As much as we appreciate all attendees, I'm going to go ahead and skip down to not anonymous attendees on these questions, just so that we can keep things sorted here. If you want to drop your name in and ask the question again, that would be fine. Rick, I don't understand the question, but maybe somebody else does. So there's probably a follow-up from Rick's earlier question.
Mm-hmm.
He just says, thanks, Ken Colleges, ? I don't remember what his original question was, so I don't know how to answer that.
Well, Ken Colleges, Alabama is in the south.
Alabama is in the south, and
Yeah.
some would consider
So he's
south.
saying, can colleges select more than one? No, colleges cannot select more than one region. So we ask that you use the flagship location. Is that the best practice there, Holly?
Yeah, that's the best practice. Thanks, Greg. Okay, Kate has another question. My institution doesn't offer majors. When setting up matchmaking, would it be helpful for me to select majors related to our specialized courses? Yes, because it's not actually, this is a good little drill down. It's not actually majors offered. It's major categories offered. So if you fall into that category and you offer degrees in that category, you should select that. Ashley asks, is there a way for us to fill out the matchmaking once instead of for each fair? My answers don't change about our institution. Having to fill it out for each one seems unnecessary. Would you like me to take it or you, Greg?
You got it.
Okay, so the reason that you have to answer matchmaking for all the fairs discreetly, Ashley, is that the questions might change. So we allow your fair organizers to select questions that are relevant to students in that environment. So the questions for the Performing and Visual Arts Fair are going to be different from the questions for the STEM Fair, and they're going to be different from the questions for the national college fairs. And so, for example, if you have a regional fair, you're not going to have all the US regions, you're just going to have the regions in that area. So we allow the fair organizers to change the questions, change the values of the answers that could be provided to those questions. And so that's why you have to go in and answer them again. We know it's a little bit tedious, but it's in order for you to match up tightly with the students who are attending that particular fair. Sarah says, what is the link to complete my matchmaking? You'll need to get that either from your confirmation, so you can log back into your order, or you can get it from someone in support. Greg, is there more you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, if you're having a particular problem for something that you didn't get, go ahead and complete a ticket in the FairStop platform. So go under the help section and add a ticket, and one of our representatives will help you right away.
Okay, I hope that people can stay on. We're almost at 3 o'clock, but these are really great questions. And so we will stay on until the question and answer box is no longer moving and grooving. So the next question is, Jake, do all events have the same matchmaking information? So I just answered that is a no, but he said I've registered for multiple events, but only set up matchmaking for one. Jake, we encourage you to go back in.
No,
and
I think you said he's only been able to. I don't know if
I'm
that's
interpreting that as he just didn't have time. So I
Got it.
don't really know the answer, but the bottom line is you do need to set it up for each one. So if you didn't have time, go back and do it. If you don't have access, get support. Greg, can you see the pictures? I actually need to text my 3 o'clock and let them know I'm going to be late.
The pictures.
The questions, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So from Patrick, how do we know if our college matchmaking piece is done? We had some turnover staff, so I just wanted to make sure. So yeah, that's a really good question. And if you don't have access to the original emails, what you can do is just put in a support request on our website and ask that question, and one of the representatives will be able to go through each event and determine for you if that's done. Okay.
I'm skipping through anonymous questions.
All right.
I'm back down to Jessica. Is there a reason why multi-session fair on 2/15? I don't understand this question.
Yeah. I understand it. Yep. So the reason that you see that chat enabled all day is because there's only one date and time that's selected, one set of dates. So what you'll see as soon as that is over, as soon as the first session is over, the chat times will change and you'll see it go from just the afternoon session. So that will get updated at the end of the first session. There won't be chat available all day. It will be only during those sessions. You're seeing the entire time right now, but that will change as soon as the first session is over.
Sorry, typing some answers. Just some affirmation for Justin that everybody's been helpful. We'll give Justin that good feedback. He will really appreciate that. Skipping through anonymous questions. Ken, if you are a beauty school, what major should we declare? There should be trade and technical major categories in there. So because they are career and college categories, so you should be able to find it. But if something is missing, you can certainly let us know. Cheryl, do you find more success with students looking for 4-year universities or 2-year colleges? I don't know, Greg, if you have that data, but
Don't.
as Greg mentioned at the top of the webinar, what we're finding, not to sound too salesy, but the truth is all college types are experiencing success in virtual college fairs. A large portion of that is due to matchmaking because students are finding more colleges that are a match. And the other half of it is there's a lot more opportunity for engagement inside our virtual platform. I hate to sound salesy, I know that it does, but it is the truth of what's happening on the ground. So I don't know if that's helpful. How to find booth reg number. I don't know. There's a lot of questions from anonymous. I don't know if it's the same anonymous. So I'm going to go down to Ken because we are close to the top of the hour and I did put off another really important meeting that I need to get to. So Ken, it seems like there's not a place for us. Is that, was he asking about trade and technical schools? I'm not sure. So Ken, if it feels like there's not a place for you, I would encourage you to, in matchmaking. Okay, so I would encourage you to reach out to NACAC. It's their decision how they set up the questions and answers. And if they decide that they want to add something specifically for your category, that's completely up to them. Joe, if you want to say anything else about that.
Yes, we're reviewing all the majors. We set the majors and up for the spring fairs. We've had a couple requests. We're looking into them, and we will definitely be making updates for the fall season now that we've already had the springs already set. The issue with that is that once matchmaking is completed by the institution, and the kids and the students have also done that, it's not going to show up for your back fairs for that matchmaking piece. Greg, do you want to touch on that a little bit or no?
I'm sorry, Joe, you mean the difference on the matchmaking?
Yeah, if we've already set those in place and the majorities of the colleges have already completed their matchmaking.
That's right.
And not going back to that. So that's not going to end up showing up for the students.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. So
we're looking
to change the majors
more
midstream, yeah, would not have any real effect.
Right. So we're looking for the fall to do that, update more majors for the fall as we see fit for these.
Okay, I'm privately messaging anybody who anonymously asked questions, but I see some of them placing it back in with their name, which I appreciate. How do we know the event ID or registrant ID for the matchmaking page? Greg, if you would handle that.
Yeah, so that that should be as part of the email that comes in. It should take you automatically there. But if you go to the matchmaking link, the registrant ID and event ID is something that you can get from our support team. So again, just put in a ticket, give them your email address and tell them the event that you registered for, and they will let you know what your event ID and the registrant ID is, so you can complete that.
Okay, so that's done. Okay, Ken, I see that you're still looking for trade schools, and I do think that Joe handled that. So I think we're good here. Last call for questions. This was really good, really helpful. Are there any loose ends that any of the other panelists would like to tie up as I clear the question box?
Well, I saw one about promotion ahead of the event, and all that I can tell you is, and this is anecdotal, and NACAC, you may have some better information, but promoting the event ahead of time, especially if there's, if you have access to your students to say, hey, come see us, it definitely makes a difference. It's anecdotal. I don't have the statistics, so that's something that it's a little bit difficult because we don't know who's done the promotions, but there's certainly been an impact. You can clearly see it on schools who've promoted it.
Okay, I guess we'll wrap up. Pia, any parting thoughts? I have none. I think we did cover everything we wanted to cover. I'll put the registration link for the next, as we knew there would be a lot of questions about matchmaking. I'll put that in the chat one last time so that folks can grab it before we close this Zoom and that chat disappears. And then we will also send that matchmaking webinar link in the recording email that we send after this webinar.
Yeah, thank you again for your time and your participation today. Lots of great questions. Clearly, you all are very engaged, and we appreciate you. We appreciate the colleges and universities that you represent, and strongly encourage that you join us next Wednesday for the matchmaking specific webinar.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.